What's up, guys? Wesley Littlefield here, and today I'm going to talk about scouting. We're out in the car. I'm here with my daughter Kaylee and Shadow.
Hi.
And we are looking for a few ducks. We've got a few farm ponds that I like to check every now and then just to go see if there's a few ducks for a quick little shoot. First of all, I'll go online and check out from maps and check out what I think looks like a duck hole, what I think looks like where ducks would want to be, where they've got shelter, they've got food, they've got water, of course. And then I'll go from there and actually drive out to that spot, walk it, look at it, see if there is food there, see if there is still water there. All right, guys, I'm going to start off with e-scouting. This is the Save Miles. This is just to give you an idea of what the land looks like before you go out actually and scout it. I've never scouted, never hunted Copan, so this is my look at a brand new place where I've never looked. So if you've never been to a place, this is kind of my process and what I would go through. So let's just get into it. You know, this is Copan Lake. I've heard good things about hunting it. Like I said, I've never been there. I've heard of people hunting it, so I would not start at the dam. That's usually the deepest part. I'd go up here to the north end, and it's not a real big lake, as I see now. And this is what kind of stuff I'm looking for. Where I hunt a lot of river and a lot of sloughs, and you can find a lot of good little holes. I'm already seeing a bunch of little holes right here. That along the river coming in, you've got this little horseshoe looking that looks like it was part of the river at one time, and it's silted in now. I'm looking at all of these fingers through here. All of this looks real shallow. All of that looks real ducky to me now. So I would know immediately if I had a boat, that's where I'd be heading, would be up through here. You know, I'd be finding a boat ramp in either on the lake and putting in, or finding one up on this little, I guess it's a river or creek, whatever it is, and headed in to this area. And this is where I would focus on looking for. So I'm looking for a place to hunt in a north wind. So I know that, let's say I've got the boat and I'm in here, I know that this little pocket's out of the wind completely. You know, no matter what direction it's going to be, it's going to block most of the big heavy winds. So that would be a good spot. But so I'm going to go ahead and mark that on, you know, either I'm using Google Earth here, but on my onX, I'd mark it. You know, I'd typically be doing this on my phone, or I'll do it on my iPad like I am now. But onX, that way I can mark it and it's on my phone. And so I'd mark that. I'd come here and, you know, we'd see, it looks like there's a little pond actually right here that would be public land. That might be good. Looks like a field of some kind that they're putting a crop on. Oh, it's a wildlife management area. There you go. That's why. So that would probably be more for deer. And I've hunted little islands like this before that if you don't have a boat you can't get to, and it's a good spot. Or maybe it's shallow enough you can walk all the way out there. It's just a long, tedious walk. So looking for places like this, it doesn't look too deep. It looks like there's a lot of little stumps sticking out. Now that could still be 10, 15 foot deep, I don't know, but I'd mark that and we'll move on. And I noticed that right here along the highway and the county roads, there's probably a lot of spots, but I know for a fact that people are going to hunt all of this right here. So that's why I'm kind of focused. I would focus more on getting out of the way, getting like to the river where there's going to be fewer people. You're going to have a boat, or you're going to be walking a long ways. And that's typically, you know, breaking down a new area. At least here in Oklahoma, you know, we don't have much flooded timber. So looking at, of course, all these little holes, there's so many little holes looking here. Now, you've got to remember that this, looking at the time of year that this picture was taken, it was winter time. So I know that these holes that have water in them now, this year at least, since we've had a lot of rain, they're more than likely going to hold water. And you've got to also remember that this river is going to change every single year. It's not going to be exactly the same. I mean, like I said, this little hole here was probably once a part of the river at one time, and it's just silted in now, and the river's changed direction. So keep that in mind. But that's how I break down a big public land chunk. Now let's go. I've hunted out here before, but we'll go hunt. Check out. There's Pawhuska, Ponca City. We still need to go way out. There's Woodward and Enid. There we go. So I've hunted here near Enid before, and this is a lot more like farm ground. So e-scouting this is totally different. I would look for what crop that they've got. Like I said, this looks like they have, it's a wintertime pictures. So I'm going to be looking for green fields that are probably a winter wheat of some sort, or something that is going to catch a bird's eye, specifically geese. And I'd even look for watersheds like this. I know I've seen this one from the highway before. It's a big old pond, watershed, whatever you want to call it, and it holds birds. I know for a fact because I've driven past it. But I would look for stuff like that a little further off, and specifically out in this area, it's a little drier, so I know that those bigger waters are going to hold more birds. But you can always find those farmers' ponds like this that, if you don't happen to drive down this county road, you'd never see, and it could be crazy good. I mean, I'm just looking, it's green right here. I'm going to guess that he planted winter wheat for his cattle or something, and it's just here, and then he plants the rest of this and whatever other crop. So that could be really good for ducks or geese, even if it's smaller. It's not a big giant pond. But that's just kind of what I do. I spend time just looking and finding ponds out here now and that look good, and I'll mark them, like I said, once again, and that way when I'm out there for scouting, I can actually hit them on my phone and find them and drive up to them. And what's nice about the onX map, I can find out who actually owns that and ask them for permission. And that's a whole nother video we'll get into about asking for permission, because at least here in Oklahoma, it's tough. I'll put it that way. It's really tough because so many people ask and so many people don't treat the landowner properly. But another video. So that's kind of what I would do e-scouting. Like I said, I spend a little bit of time doing this, just dropping a whole bunch of waypoints on something that just looks absolute like ducks should be here. And next we're going to go actually out into the field, and I'm going to show you kind of what I look for as far as once you're on location scouting. So let's get to it.
Oh, never take one.
Alright guys, I'm out here, and I was actually hunting today, but it was a scouting hunting trip, if you want to call it that. And so I'm going to tell you what I do once I've driven a spot, I've identified that there were ducks here. And so I would come out here hopefully prior to hunting, but today it didn't work out that way. And I would look for why the heck they're here. And they're here at this pond, or puddle, if you want to call it a pond, because it's shallow. There's a lot of food. The cows are in here. They'll stir up all the mud and all the bugs that are in the mud. And so those ducks will come in here and eat the muddy bugs, and they'll also eat the grass that has grown up. You can kind of see here that there's grass in the water and everything, so it's really shallow. I've watched my dog walk all the way across it, and I walked out there, of course, set decoys, and it might be a foot deep, where the cows have wallered it out. So that's, I mean, for me, scouting on a little pond like this, that's what I'd look for. If I was going into hunting the timber, like I'd marked on the app, I would say go in there during non-shooting hours, like the middle of the day or something. That way you're not interfering with anybody else, or before season and go see if there's ducks there, if you're pushing ducks out, if there's, like I could see here, there's food here, there's food potential here, or if there's ducks even in the area. You know, we're hunting ducks mainly today, but there's a wheat field. You can kind of see, I don't know if you can see my dad and my daughter walking right there. There's a wheat field right on the other side of a fence just a couple 100 yards away, and the geese hammered it, and I don't have permission on it. There's a couple crows, but I do know that the geese will hit. There's another pond over here this direction, and they will come and loaf in that pond. So I know that there's geese in the area, that they're working the area. And so, like I said, this was a hunting trip / scouting trip, and it turned out great. But focus back on scouting. That's what I do, scouting. You know, I try to go find places that look like real ducky. And I'll drive around, especially out here. It's a little more open, and I'll look for where ducks are landing, and if I have to, I'll go knock on doors and ask for permission. But this rancher has a couple thousand acres, I think, and he's got several ponds that we can hunt. So I typically focus on those now that I've got a spot locked down. And but yeah, so that's scouting. Don't make it harder than it is. Go find the birds. That's really what scouting is go find the birds. Put miles to make the piles. Put on miles to make the piles. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. I'll catch you next time.